Hi again then guys, and welcome to episode 14 of B-Road Ballers, the review series for the hot hatches, older and newer, of Gran Turismo 6 of course. And in this episode we're featuring a pretty unique vehicle among the hot hatch lineup. It's the year 2000 Volkswagen Beetle RSi. Now I have to say, this is one of my personal favourite hot hatches. Not just on the game, but also in real life. I just think this is an awesome little car. I love the concept behind it. I am really shocked that Volkswagen actually made this car. Volkswagen is known for making some pretty fantastic looking concept cars, such as the Nardo or the Eco Racer, but then they end up not building them. And although the Beetle RSi wasn't necessarily a hot concept car, the concept behind it is essentially a hot concept car. You take a Beetle, fit it with a massive body kit, a big rear wing, fancy interior with Alcantara and carbon fibre detailing, give it Golf R32 performance and the price tag of a Porsche. That doesn't sound like the kind of car that Volkswagen would ever actually approve, but they did. And I'm so glad that they did, because it's one of the craziest hot hatches ever made. Now, it's not necessarily the fastest of hot hatches on the game. It may not even be in the top 10. But it's still an awesome little car in my opinion. Now, in real life, it's very expensive, and that is carried over to the game. In real life, this was around an $80,000 car when it was first released, which is crazy money for a Beetle. That really is ridiculous. Yet another reason why I can't barely believe that they made the thing. And even today, 15 years later, a used one of these will still cost you around at least £30,000, which for a hot hatch, that's kept a lot of its value. I mean, it's lost a lot as well, but hot hatches aren't known for keeping their value, so this car's kept quite a lot of it compared to many, especially for its age. In terms of spec, as I said, very similar performance to the older generation R32, 3.2 litre turbocharged engine, all-wheel drive, which is very cool, and in its stock form just over 220 horsepower. Fully tuned, it puts out 511 and a torque figure of 389 pound-feet, which is pretty good. Not class leading, but above average. The weight is also surprisingly good on the RSi at only 1,217 kilos, which, although isn't necessarily the lightest of the hot hatch class, is still very good for a vehicle which itself isn't that small, and does of course have an all-wheel drive system, which can add a considerable amount of weight if you add it to the wrong vehicle. So pretty impressive weight there. The power to weight ratio per tonne as well is also very impressive at 420. Again, not the highest of its class, but pretty good for a Beetle. The price though, as I said, in real life it's expensive, and that is carried over to the game at 94,000 credits. That's a lot of money for a Beetle. Is it really worth 94 grand? You can get a C7 Corvette for 50 grand on this game. You can get a Supra for 40. Is a Beetle really worth 94,000 credits? Well, if you compare it to something like a Corvette or a Supra, obviously not. But I tell you what, this car can beat both of those cars to 60 miles per hour. And it has around half the power. That's still pretty impressive for a Beetle. Now, the handling is very good overall, and that's partially due to the fact that the shape of the car lends itself more towards being kind of a sports coupe rather than a traditional hatchback. Some people would probably say that this car isn't really a true hot hatch, but rather a sports coupe, more in the style of something like a Nissan 350Z or the Hyundai Genesis. I'd personally disagree with that because A, the Beetle is marketed as a hot hatch anyway, being no longer rear-wheel drive and actually having a hatchback, and also because the performance that it's given is a direct rival to the main hot hatches of the time rather than sports coupes of the time. So yeah, I would say it definitely is a hot hatch, but at the same time it has certain definite advantages to do with its shape and centre of gravity that other hot hatches don't have. It's relatively wide, not overly long, and most of its body isn't that high. Obviously, with the nature of the shape of the Beetle, it has one high point in the centre of the roof, but overall that's a far lower centre of gravity than most hot hatches, and you can really feel that through the corners. It handles more like a Porsche in a Beetle body rather than a Golf, which is appropriate considering the origins of the 911. Now, 94 grand, there's no getting away from that. It's a lot of money. From a performance point of view, it's probably not really worth that. But off the line, it's as quick as some supercars. It will do around 220 flat out without NOS or draft. It has very good handling thanks to the all-wheel drive, makes a superb rally car as well. And hardly anyone uses them. So I would say, for me personally, all of those things combined would mean that for me, it is worth the money. So that's it for this episode. I'll see you guys next time, and as always, thanks for watching.